So this is the leather kit that I've developed for, they work specifically with Todd's helmets. So that helmet right there, it's the one you get from Todd. If you've purchased a leather kit from me and you're watching this, then you'll notice that you've got the back strap here with all the lines sewn in, and then you've got the neck cowl, and there's a little bit of work to be done on that still. Top snout, bottom snout. I do the bottom snout in 2 pieces because assembling it in one piece is just almost like a nightmare, but in 2 pieces it just makes it a lot more straightforward, and you'll see at the end how it looks. Little hole here, don't have to worry about that because that's not going to show up on the helmet, because this is the back piece and then it comes down and you'll actually end up cutting out a lot of that. So if you get some leather with some imperfections on it, I think it just adds to that overall weathered look and everything. So yeah, this is the kit. I sell them, and you're gonna watch this and you'll learn how to assemble it. So just stay tuned. I should mention too, just as I'm sort of taking off this masking, even if you didn't purchase a kit from me, or you don't have one of Todd's helmets and you're just curious on how to do the leather on a Boushh helmet, this will be a good video. So don't feel like you need to purchase a kit from me. This is just for those who have, and anybody who hasn't, this will give you a good idea of what's kind of required for assembling the leather on a Boushh helmet. So just a note on the leather, it is deer skin that I use. It's a really nice, very light grade, quite flexible as well. So that helps a lot with assembling your leather. I think what some people find is they get a leather that's maybe too heavy of a grade, and then they can't wrap it around, or they can't wrap it around the back here, and so that makes it frustrating. But this leather is great to work with. Hopefully this will help you guys, just with some confidence, and then you can go and do it on your own. So anyways, I'll just finish ripping this off, and then we're ready to go. The next step, if you haven't already done so, I always do this when I'm prepping the helmet, but take some sandpaper. I like a pretty gritty sandpaper for this part, like an 80 grit, and you're just going to sand everywhere here. I've already done that, but sand everywhere where the leather is going to go. You're going to sand. If you haven't already sanded here, sand everywhere here. Well, you're just roughing it up, really. I like to do that just to make sure that the glue is going to adhere really well. And so you're just going to rough it up a little bit. You don't have to do very much, just real quick, just something like that, up in there, and then you'll be ready to apply your leather. A couple tools that you might want, well, really one tool. I like this little, I call it a little spudger, I guess. Anyways, it's just for getting, some of your, when you're pushing the leather down into the snout, might be helpful. Popsicle stick will work too, something like that. I get a lot of questions about what kind of cement I use, but it's Barge Infinity Cement. I'll maybe throw a link in the description so you guys can link yourselves there and get it if you want. This is universal all-purpose, but really what you want to look at is the materials that it's rated for, or that it's good for. And this, it's got leather right there, and so vinyl, PVC, polyurethane. As with anything, read the instructions. Make sure you know if you need good ventilation, or if you need to wear, protection on your hands or anything like that. Just follow the instructions and you'll be good to go. I always start with the top snout, and so it just goes on like that really well. You're going to have a little bit of overhang down here on the ends, but that's okay. We'll just trim that up. I think it's good to have a little bit extra rather than not enough. So I like to just mark, not on the helmet, because you've already done that, so don't mark anything up on there. Just down there. I just like to see kind of where about the middle is. And then I can fit this. Kind of make sure you're seeing on both sides. this right here and there, that it's kind of an even length on each side, that you're not getting it off center. And then I'll just pull this up. I'll pull that up, and I'll just match my marks so I know where I'm going to start. I do start out with some CA glue. I get a lot of my stuff from Hobby Link. I'll put a link in the description as well. Everything. And so I really like going here, and I think that I feel like their prices are pretty fair. We're going to start off just right where we made our marks. Now there's a little lip. I know if you've had one of Todd's helmets, there's a little lip there. Don't put glue outside of the lip. Just get under the lip. You don't want to mess up your nice paint job. So I'm just going to put right directly onto the helmet. Just a dab to start. I'm going to line up my marks. And this is where I like this little tool. I can just kind of, I don't have to use my fingers, don't have to get it all over my fingers, and I can just push it up, kind of up into there. So after that, you're just going to go all the way to where it starts coming down. So CA glue up to about that point, and then you're going to put your leather down. Okay, and then you're going to come over to this other side, do the same thing. Turn that a little bit. This helmet is for a client, Chris. I think it's for his daughter, actually. Anyways, he's been working on her build and commissioned me to do the helmet. So this will be heading off in a few days. He'll be very happy with it. And his daughter will be too. Alright, next part. You're only going to do the top part. So you do it kind of in sections. And so what I like to do is I just like to mark it off, just so I know, you know, where my glue is going to go. So I'll pull that up, you can see, and I'll just run that along there. Okay. Then I'll do the same over on this side. Try and mark that. Oops. Okay. Then I'll also mark just down near the snout where it's going to tuck in. So you're going to mark all that. Alright? And when you pop up, you just know exactly where your glue is going to go. Now this is a pretty strong smell for me, so I usually have a window open. But in addition to that, oh, let me grab this. I've just got this little cap thing, so when I'm not using it, but I don't want to put the cap on, I'll just boop, pop that on like that so that I don't have to smell that all the time. This is the kind of brush I use. You can get these on like Amazon. They're just little throwaway brushes. It's like the exact same thing that comes on the inside. An even coat on each side, and then you just throw her down. Really simple. So you throw this down just right where you marked off. Alright? And now we wait for, I don't know, however long it says. I usually wait maybe, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes. It's probably not even that long that I wait. I think sometimes these things recommend you wait for, 10 or 20 minutes, but I don't think you need to wait that long. That's just me. So we'll come back in about 5 minutes. So this has been sitting for just a few minutes. Just kind of start at the top and just kind of fold it and press it out, I guess. So you're going to kind of be pulling out and pushing it down at the same time. Because remember, I'm a little bit short on this side for some reason. And so I'm going to try and just kind of pull and just rub it down. Oh yeah, beautiful. That's perfect. Yeah, it doesn't take much to put that down. Really easy. So the next part you're going to be working on is this this side part. I'm going to mark down here with my Sharpie just where exactly my leather is going to go, or the contact cement, so that I don't have to put on more than I need. And be careful again as you're coming up next to kind of where the helmet is. Just try not to get it on the helmet. Now up in this corner right here, try and make sure you get, not a lot, but just make sure you get it right up in there, because that's a place that seems to want to not always go down real easy, or it doesn't. Sometimes you just have to go back with a little bit of CA glue and glue it down. Okay, now for the rest of the helmet. Just be careful when you get it up. Try and get it up just under that lip if you can, as best you can anyways. There's a little bit of patience involved, and you can do it. Okay, a little bit up there. Cover that, don't want to smell that. And again, we'll wait for a few minutes, then I'll show you how you want to put this down. This is a little bit more tricky because you really have to line up your leather along with this ridge, and so you just want to be careful. And just the way contact cement is, I mean, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's a one-shot deal, but once it's down, it's kind of down. You don't want to have to pull it back up, so just be careful as you're doing this part that you line everything up. Alright, so I think we're ready to put this down. Remember, you really want to get up. I'm going to try and keep my hands kind of out of the way so you kind of see what I mean. But how am I going to do this so that you can see? How about like that? So that's going to go up. I'm going to get that seam all lined up. You see how there's a little bit of a, that's kind of like that. Don't worry about that. It'll all just go down piece of cake. This side will go on just the same as the other. See how I'm just, you might not be able to see, but right here I'm just like a millimeter short. So when I put that down, I'm going to have to make sure I just pull a little bit. Alright, that's all lined up. I'm going to go back and trim that other side. So we're just getting ready to trim this excess off. Use a sharp blade. That's my only advice for this part. What I do is I'll just hang on to the excess here, and I try and put my blade so it's it sits kind of flush with this part of the helmet, and that's my guide, and I'll just run it all the way up, and it'll just cut off this excess. So that's a little bit rough, or not rough, but just not a good clean cut. So what you can do is you can come back and just kind of very carefully, because you don't want to cut off anything that's not supposed to be cut off, but you can come back and trim it up a little bit. And to be honest, if it looks a little bit rough, that's okay, because your other piece of leather is going to be coming right up against there. For this next part, we're going to be tucking the leather into here, because it needs to be tucked in, because eventually you're going to put on your, I guess, your tusk piece, and so that needs to be all tucked in. You may want to trim some of this. I mean, this is a lot of extra that I give that is there, and so you may just want to take, you only need, I don't know, about 1/2 inch to tuck in. So if you just take some scissors and just trim a little bit, that'll just less bulk to tuck. The other thing is you may want to notch notch your leather in the corner here and the corner here. If you can see just the way it tucks in. Just give it, don't cut all the way up to the helmet, for heaven's sake. Just a touch. Just one little notch there. And then one little notch there. And then I'll even go further and just cut some of it even out even more. So I'll notch it and then I'll cut even more out. Just gets rid of the bulk. So you don't want a lot of bulk that you have to tuck in there. There. I don't know if you can see that real well. Just, yeah. This is where something like this, a little spudger tool. We got this one too, a little metal one. These come in handy here. I like to start with the top flap, and I'll just put the CA glue kind of right on the leather, and then I'll start by pushing it down. You may be wondering why there's a hole here. Todd's helmets don't come with holes, but I cut them out for my clients that want a fan. If this is going to be a wearable helmet, sometimes it can get hot in a helmet, and you might want a fan. And so that's where I put the fan. Is I put the fan on the inside of the helmet right there. It blows right on your face, and you know you need a hole for air to come through. And there's also this, you can see right there, I cut holes in the snout so that there's room for airflow. In case you're wondering why mine had a hole and maybe yours didn't, I don't know. So no bulges, no folds. That's the other thing. You don't want folds showing on any of your, I guess, they're not seams, just the edges. You don't want any folds showing or anything. That'll look sloppy. And you don't want to be sloppy. Alright, so there's that done. Okay, we're on to these, the bottom part. I call it kind of like the chin or the jowls. My very best advice is you got to start right here, and then you're going to work your way down that way. And you have to do this in sections. You can't do it all at once. It's impossible. Well, never say never, but in my experience, it's impossible to do it all at once. Okay, so you're going to start here, and then you're going to move your way that way. CA glue again, a little dot right up in that corner. And you're going to line it up, just so. I'm going to get it down, and just hold it there for a minute. So that looks good. You want your leather to be touching leather, if you know what I mean. So this leather, right on that leather. Not under it, I do it right on it. See how it just kind of takes away some of those jagged, uneven cuts that I made? A little bit jagged there. You put your leather right on leather. So I put it just right up kind of in that seam, just about that much. Then I'll bring it down, leather on leather, and I'll kind of pinch it. I'll pinch that seam together because I do not want that seam coming undone. So that's probably the very most important part of this leather install, is getting that piece on in the right place, because then everything else will line up just right. I'm going to fold that over, and I'm just going to draw a line straight down on the helmet and on the leather. So you can see there's a line there, because I'm going to do this section first, just right here. This is the bottom of the chin. There's a section right here. Do not do that section. That is the very last thing you're going to do, because this is where your two pieces are going to line up. Do not glue this down, okay? That's my other piece of advice. You're going to come right up to the edge of it, but don't glue that part down yet. I'm going to mark right here as well. And I'm going to mark just where the edge of the helmet is, because again, I don't want to, I'm not going to put any contact cement down here until I need to. And even then, for this part where I tuck it in, I actually use hot glue. So that's my first area that I'm going to do. Corresponds right there. Okay, so we've left that just for a minute. We're gonna put this part down. Now the other thing about doing this part is, just if I can put that down without actually putting it down. This sometimes likes to go down like that. It's got to line up there. So sometimes I like to kind of pull it this way as I'm putting it down. There, like that. So you put that part down, not that part, but all the way up that edge and down there. Now that you've got all this down, you're just going to do a little short section right here. You're going to come right to where this lip ends, so like right there. Just want to measure how far you want to go with your glue. Let's mark it. Okay, so that's your next section, just a short little section. So for that part, there's that lip. And you want, again, your leather and the lip to line up. Okay? So I'll just kind of, I'm pulling this out. It's not actually on the helmet. I'm pulling this like out. And then I'm going and I'm laying the leather down right up against that lip. So I've got the lip down. Then I will go and put that part down. Then you can see it's lined up perfectly. If there are any parts that come out, or come up, go back to your CA glue and just put a little dab, boop, 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 and then just pinch it back together. Because sometimes you maybe thought you did, but you didn't get enough contact cement on your leather or maybe on your helmet, and you just need to go back and kind of just do a little bit of maintenance. So there are no lines to guide you, but this should come up basically right up under, I call this the ear, like the ear. Should come up right behind the ear, and then on the back don't know if you can see that very well, but on the back it comes up here, and then it kind of, there's kind of like a line, not a real line, but a little place you can see where it comes up, and then it comes up again, a little crease or a line or something like that. Anyways, you want your leather to come up just about to that line. So I just line this up, you know, at the back, so it's lined up there. And I'll just take a pencil and I'll just kind of mark. I don't know if you can see what I'm doing, but I'm just marking. There, now you can see. I'm just kind of marking it down, all the way down there. And I know you can't see that, but on here is just a little mark of where now I need to put my glue up to. There's this sort of ledge, or this ledge right here that comes around. Don't do it on there yet. Just work on this surface. Don't do this back part yet. We'll do that when we're tucking everything in. Okay, so we're ready to put this part back, and again, just make sure your lines are, I'm going to stick my finger under there so it doesn't quite go down, but I'm going to try and make sure that I get up and kind of get that line where I want it. That looks good. And I'm just going to rub it down. So I'm just checking the edges now to make sure I've got it down. It looks pretty good to me, but I'll check it again, you know, after it's had maybe a day to cure, just to make sure that edge is going to stick down, but it looks pretty good. Alright,